Morning again, but yeah, it's right. It's spring. Look at that big yellow thing in the sky, and it's blue out there. Let's just all celebrate. Let's just all go step on a stink bug today, and that'll be cool. So I'm just glad that we're here as well, and just thank you for being with us. I'm going to go through a couple of things really quick that we've got a lot going on. You have the opportunity to have and keep those videos that we saw broadcast by our own Bryce Woodison, who will soon once again be a member of Eastside. Yay, this year, he and his family. But that we saw at Winterfest with the theme there. He made 4 videos. They're profound. The message is deep and is so well put together and done. And we've got a stack of them out there that are left. You can get one. They're $10. Give that to Tom or give it to me, and I'll give it to Tom. And you can get that too. They're well worth having. Here pretty soon we'll have a Easter egg hunt, and we're collecting candy in these bins out here. If you can bring it, I see a number of people have already been doing that. Thank you. And if you want to also contribute toward that, we've already got the eggs. We just need what candy will fit inside those eggs for our Easter egg hunt. As you know, and you saw in that video, tomorrow they're going to have a blood drive here, and I think there's 6 names on the list. Thank you to those 6 who have signed up. May your tribe increase. Yeah, you guys are awesome, because you can see how important that is, the difference it can make. And so they need some more names, though. There's a sign-up sheet on the horseshoe out there in the lobby. You pick a time slot, and you put your name down, and then tomorrow, depending on which time slot, just be here and give the gift of life. Well, thank you for that. In 3 weeks from today, the AIM students will be here. Big AIM bus will pull up here in the afternoon, and the AIMers, they will. And so I want to really, I can't do this strongly enough, encourage you in the evening, for that evening to be here 3 weeks from today, because the AIMers are going to conduct our evening worship service. They'll probably be doing a flag presentation or something. You learn a lot about AIM and see how cool it really is, and meet AIMers, and you're going to see how awesome and amazingly normal and ordinary they are. They're just like us, but they're doing an extraordinary thing. And so we want to support that, and we want to just encourage them as they make this trip, because not long after they're here, they'll all be heading to their mission fields in various places around the world. We need a few more host families. There's a sign-up sheet in the hallway on the wall there. If you can house them, and it just requires indicating, and not everybody can do this, but if a few more, if you can, put them up for 2 nights. You feed them breakfast twice. You drop them off here and Monday morning, Tuesday morning, and there's not a lot to it, but you'll get a chance to visit with the ones staying in your home, and that'll be a blessing to you too. So, and then beginning right in that room right there, April 18th, David will be leading our Grief Share ministry and support group. This will just be like Divorce Care was. It'll be a combination of video and really discussion and support group for those dealing with loss and grief. And there's a lot of folks we know, because it's hard to navigate through this, especially if you feel like you're having to do it by yourself. And so you don't have to do it by yourself. And the power is in the group and the discussion and the sharing of the stories and all those things. So anybody you might know that you think could benefit from this, it'll be tremendous. And they can come, and starting on those Thursday evenings, beginning in April 18th. So help me get the word out. We've got flyers out there that you can give to somebody, and just do that. So, and then I want to continue. We've been talking about for the last few Sundays these I am stories, not the I am verses. We've been dealing with that on Sunday morning's class in here, and that's outstanding, from the book of John. What I'm talking about is looking at some lives of some people from the New Testament. And as you'll notice, it's some of the lesser known, perhaps, some of the lesser known individuals of men and women that we meet in the pages of the New Testament, that we can learn from things that they did or who they were, and we can identify with them. And we've looked at a number. I want to look at another one today and see how we can be Tabitha in a sense, that we can learn from this lady. We meet her in the book of Acts chapter 9, starting in verse 36. So I want to take you to the book of Acts. And let's read what we can find out about this amazing lady right here named Tabitha. Starting in Acts 9:36, it says this: Now in Joppa, there was a certain disciple named Tabitha. And it tells us that it's a name that's translated in Greek called Dorcas. So you could have two different names depending on what language you're talking about back then. And this woman was, look the way she's described, it was abounding in deeds of kindness and charity, which she continually did. Now in Joppa, let's see, next one, there we go. And it came about at that time she fell sick and died. And when they had washed her body, they laid it in an upper room. And since Lydda, it's another town, was near Joppa, the disciples, having heard that Peter was there, they sent 2 men to him, entreating him, "Do not delay to come to us." And Peter arose and went with them. He finds out, hey, we need you in Joppa, and he gets up and goes. And when he had come, they brought him into the upper room, and all the widows stood beside him weeping, and showing all the tunics and garments that Dorcas used to make while she was with them. Peter sent them all out. Imagine this scene. And he knelt down and he prayed next to this lady's body. And he said, and turning to the body, he said, "Tabitha, arise." Wouldn't this be something to see? She opened her eyes. And when she saw Peter, she sat up, and he gave her his hand and raised her up, and calling the saints and widows, he presented her alive. Imagine coming downstairs. Here you go. Here she is. Hadn't that been something? What a party and a celebration they must have had that day. And it became, of course it would, it became known all over Joppa. Can you imagine how fast that news would have spread? People coming by to go, "Hey, I heard that she was dead, now she's alive. Can I see?" Really? And many believed in the Lord. And it came about that he stayed many days in Joppa with a certain tanner named Simon. So Peter hung around in town for a good while after that. Wow, what an amazing story. If you don't know, Joppa is a town on the Mediterranean coast of Israel. And then a few miles farther inland would have been another town named Lydda. And so in these two towns, they're not far apart, is where the story takes place. And this lady here, she dies, she passes away. They prepare her as they typically would, and then lay her out for the people to mourn, the people to have a funeral that could last for a long time in those cultures. But then they send word. They hear Peter's not far, and they send word to him, and he comes. And he comes to where she lying in state there. But remember, as we just saw, she doesn't stay that way. Through the power of God, God raises her from the dead. It wasn't Peter that did this. It was God that did that. And as he has done before with others, just ask Lazarus what it's like. Brings life into death. Brings joy into sorrow. Brings her back. Because I think God here is still using these isolated incidents to demonstrate his power, to confirm the truth of the gospel that was still being this is the first years of the church, still being spread there. You don't have the New Testament to do that for us now that we do. And so the people would need these kind of things to see and would show that what Peter and the others were preaching is true. And she's raised back to life. Wow. So what can we learn? What can we learn? Because I think there's a few things in this episode that there's some reminders of things we can learn. And they're simple. And I think we just she reminds us of the power of service. Service is something that I think sometimes either gets taken for granted or is underappreciated in society and culture today. But service matters, and service is something that is to characterize God's people. We are to be servants. Jesus came in Matthew 20. He said, "I am among you as one who serves." That's what Jesus himself said. And we, as his people who take his name and call ourselves Christians, have to do and be what he was as far as character goes. He said, I'm here to serve. And so how could we do any less? And there's a power in serving. There's a power that is released in a sense that you just help. And if you've done that, you know you've experienced the joy, the transformative power sometimes that it can really help and really change things for people. It's not magic, but I think it can help in just some profound ways, and we see that in her. Remember, Jesus demonstrated. He just didn't say, go serve. He didn't just say, I'm here to be a servant. He showed us. He proved it. Best example is John 13 in that upper room. And look how simple it was. How beautifully simple it was, and yet powerful. Because here's the Lord of all the earth. Here is God with skin on. God in the flesh, who if anybody could have said, bow to me, I'm not here. I don't have to be a servant. Everybody is to serve me. He had the right to come in that way. And yet, he's the one that initiates serving. As he says, as an example, so if I can do this, I, your Lord and Master, can serve, then so, therefore, must you. And look how simple it was. Did it take something really elaborate and really complicated that night in that room? What did it take? Towel, bowl of water, and a bunch of dirty feet. That's about all he needed. And then but to show us this image of the Son of God on his knees, taking those dusty feet and washing them, and it illustrates the responsibility, the power, and the joy of serving. So we want to serve like Tabitha, because if anything characterized this lady, she was a servant, as we see from the text. And you see, so I want to serve, and I hope you do too, and I'm encouraging, I want to serve like Tabitha. I want to be a servant too. And I'm married to somebody who, for her service comes naturally. Doesn't come as natural for me. I wish it did. But I kind of sometimes have to work on it, or sometimes I think later, why didn't I should have thought. But you see, if you want to be like Tabitha, you got to see that service has to just permeate the life. It's not something that's occasional. It's not something that is tangential to life. It's just every so often I'll schedule it in, and it'll just be this one little thing that I do on occasion, like Christmas. It comes once a year. We make a big deal of it. Look what I did. But the rest of the time, it's supposed to permeate the life. Just be part of who we are, become our nature to serve. That's what Jesus said. When Jesus serves, he's not doing it because it's a serving program at church. He's just serving because that's who he is. He's being himself. I want to be like that. Because look how they describe her in our text. They said this woman was abounding with deeds of kindness and charity, which she continually did. She's serving all the time. And she's just like breathing. Because she just does things for people. We got a lot of people here like that, don't you? We could name names, couldn't we? Ray and Debbie, and Frank, and David, and Rob, and Tom, and Kelly, and I hesitate to do that, even though I kind of did, but because I would miss so many. We have to name bunches of us, and praise God for these folks. Let's follow their lead, because there's just servants all over the place. There's some more. There's some more. There's some more, and I want to be like that. And another thing about serving like Tabitha is serving is to be others focused. Because that's kind of goes without saying, I guess, but it doesn't. To serve like Tabitha, if we want to be Tabitha in that sense, you gotta get past yourself. I don't know about you, but I know for me, my biggest obstacle to serving, right here, this guy I see in the mirror. I'm the biggest reason. Sometimes I'm the biggest excuse. Well, I don't have time for that because I'm busy. And sometimes I actually am. Well, they should do that themselves. And if you need an excuse, guarantee you, Satan will be more than happy to supply lots of them. He didn't want you serving people. He didn't want you being like Jesus to other people. No, just be focused on you. And remember, our culture says that. Remember, our culture tells us, look out for number one. You deserve a break today. And on it goes. To think of you, and what if it doesn't help you, if it doesn't promote you, if it doesn't make your Facebook profile look better, then I don't know if I'm going to, because we are busy. We do have a lot of things going on, and we do have a lot of competition for what'll take up our time. You think Tabitha was busy too? That she could have used. It's not people that have nothing else to do that are to be the only ones that serve. A lot of the servants I have known through my life, and I bet if you think about it, this could be you or the people you could name, like, yeah, this is true. A lot of the most profoundly beautiful and powerful servants I've known in my life were some of the busiest people I've ever met. It's not like they sat around just waiting for, well, I got nothing else to do. I'll just sit on my porch until I got some way to serve somebody. Well, they had all kinds of stuff going on, just like we do. They served anyway because they're other focused. And we're to be other focused. We could read so many verses. Like Galatians 5:13, you were called for freedom, brethren, only do not turn your freedom into an opportunity for the flesh, but through love, serve one another. There's a whole list, and we'll go through these one of these days, make a good sermon series, I think, all the one another passages. Depending on whose list you look at, there's up to like 36 different ones in Scripture of those one another passages. Like we're to forgive one another, accept one another, and on it goes down the list. Philippians 2 verse 3 says this, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind, listen to this, let each of you regard one another as more important than himself. When I do that, serving's not hard. It doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't become mechanical. It just becomes second nature because it's just part of me, who I am. So it's a blessing, it's a gift, it's a joy to serve. I don't have to go, oh, great, okay, I'll serve, and do it grudgingly, No, not when we take on the heart of Jesus, because he served because that was where his heart was. And so when you serve, another way we serve, we find out that serving uses one's gifts to bless. Now, I could, again, name names and name where Frank has multiple times spent a lot of time and effort and the skin off of his knuckles under one of my vehicles to help Car. I bet he has for a lot of you too, and other people have. People have come to fix things in your home. People have dipped into their own finances to contribute to other people. People have, I know of Jane has, and doesn't trumpet this, probably doesn't even want me to say this, but has gone to other people, shut-ins, homes, over and over and over, and quietly and selflessly served shut-ins and other people, doing some really dedicated things that are difficult to do. And over again, different ones of us. Our serving is not all the same. If you'll notice, there's a huge diversity in how we serve and what we do and the way we serve. And that's beautiful and that's good because our gifts aren't the same. So if you're not able to do mechanical work for somebody who's got a mechanical issue, I'm about as mechanical as that stink bug over there. I can't do anything. When it says check engine, I'm like, oh, okay, I can open the hood and go, yeah, I checked it, there it is. Beyond that, I'm out. But there'll be some other way. So based on your giftedness, it is up to you to recognize, okay, with what gifts I have been given, how can I help? How can I serve? How can I contribute? Because I believe that the scriptures tell us everyone has been gifted. And the Spirit, it says in 1 Corinthians 12, will distribute gifts according to his decision. But nobody gets left out in that. Our gifts vary, the amount, the description of them, they're not the same, not supposed to be the same. So number one, we don't compare. And none of us can say, well, I don't have any gifts. Just because we can look up the front and see somebody maybe standing up here and go, well, since I can't do that, then I can't contribute. I can't preach, I can't lead singing like Rob does so wonderfully. Then I can't. No, we all have different gifts. Most of those gifts are quietly done behind the scenes to help. And so you find out, if you don't know, ask. The people that know and love you, they will know. And they'll tell you, oh, you're so good at, oh, you have such a powerful gift in this. Then find a way to use where you've been gifted to serve. That's what Tabitha did. Look, and the evidence was in those that came to Peter and said, look what she did, look what she made. And there's all these ladies going, look how much she gave us. She made me this. Another one like, yeah, and she gave me this. I didn't have a coat, I didn't have an outfit, and she just made this. And look at what Dorcas was doing. Was Dorcas just doing elaborate in front of the thing with just some big, really fancy, glorious, outstanding wow in front of everybody? No. Look at her in the quiet of her own home with a needle and thread, quietly sewing garments for those in need. No applause, no crowds. She didn't need that, because that's not what it's about. It's about, I know somebody that needs a coat, and she just quietly makes it. Here you go. And look at the impact that she had from doing that. So if we want to be like Tabitha, well, serving like Tabitha requires commitment and sacrifice, because you know what? Here's the thing, and this is nothing new to you. Serving isn't always convenient, is it? Do you guys know that people don't schedule their crises according to my convenience? I'll get a call, especially, if the elders will understand this, the preachers, different or other different ones, helpers, deacons, whatever. And you might get a call in the middle of the night. You might get a call on your day off. You might get a call when you're out of town. You might get a call, or somebody come by and they're like, hey, something's happened, and something's going on, and you need to go help, and if you can, and be there and do. But those often come. I'd like, okay, but on Thursdays between 6 and 2, I'm available for people to have crises. So if you're going to have a crisis, maybe I'll post a schedule, okay, for when your crises can come. Please make them convenient to me. That just not how life goes, is it? Things happen. A car catches on fire. And all of a sudden, a family is in deep need. Praise God for you that we are going to help and respond to that. Please be generous. But it requires sometimes a sacrifice of time, a sacrifice of finances, a sacrifice of schedule. I have to rearrange some things. But as all of us do that, we do that because we love Jesus. We do that because that's who he's making us into. We do that because we care, and that we have been the recipients of that before. I couldn't tell you how many times I've been the beneficiary of other people's sacrifice. And I'm changed because of it. I'm transformed. That's part of the reason that I get to do what I do. And God has blessed me so much because of the sacrifice and the loving generosity and benevolence of lots of other people. It's a debt I could never pay. And I think the only way maybe I can repay it is go serve somebody else to say thank you to them. Jesus said, you can't serve two masters. You got to choose. For either you'll hate one and love the other, or you'll hold to one, despise the other. You can't serve God and mammon. We got to draw a line. We got to take a stand. We got to get off the fence and pay a price. If you want to serve like Tabitha, you're experience overflow in the lives of other people. I love this concept of overflow, and I'm going to preach about this at some point. Because overflow is this holy spillover where you get filled like you're a vessel. And you get filled with the Spirit. You get filled with the joy. You get filled with the Word. You get filled. God fills you, pours into you, maybe by the service of other people. As they invest themselves and their heart into you, then all of a sudden you get filled up so much. When something goes all the way to the top, but you keep pouring in, what happens? Overflow. And when you keep pouring into something that's already full, that overflow, where does it go? All over the place. It's outward. Right? Tabitha could tell you about overflow Because look at the other people that evidenced by the things they said to Peter, all of the overflow into how her life touched all these other lives around her. She didn't keep it a secret. She didn't keep it in a closet. She didn't keep it to herself. She's giving and giving herself away and doing that, and it is transforming and changing the lives of other people. How awesome it is to get to do something like that in your specific, particular way. We can all do that. We can all in one, it doesn't have to be big and elaborate. It has to be up front. It could be behind the scenes. It's as it usually is. And it is no less valuable, and it is no less powerful and beautiful, whether it's up here in front, visible, or in somebody's home, or their driveway, or their place of work, alongside a road broken down, or wherever it may be. So what do we learn from Tabitha? Secondly, we learn the glory of the ordinary. Here's what I love about Tabitha. She's just her. She's just an ordinary person. But she illustrates the glory of the ordinary, as it's been called. Where God picked, you notice when God came down, he didn't pick 12 of the people at the top of the social ladder. What did he pick? Well, mostly just blue-collar guys, fishermen, regular folks, man. Just people. And he says, through you, my message will go into the earth. As you teach others who will teach others, who will teach others, who will teach others, down to us. And we're polluted. So you see from Tabitha, here's what she was. She's just an ordinary person, but she was an ordinary person who belonged to Jesus, and so she gave that away through doing things, through making things, through giving. She was a servant, faithful Christian, and an example we need to heed, an example we need to follow. Let's be like Tabitha, man. And but here's some things she was not. She wasn't an apostle. She wasn't a minister, professional. She wasn't a paid hired gun. And she's just one of the folks, man. She's just an ordinary lady. And so I think that gives even more power to her example. Because we think, well, just let the elders do all of that. Just let the ministers do all that. Didn't we hire them to do it all for us? We actually didn't. She just gave herself away, and that's what made so much impact what she did. So here's what she shows us. She shows us that all of us can serve. All of us must. You go to 1 Corinthians 12, go to Romans 12, you'll see gifts that are listed. And he says, if you're part of the body, and we are, because when you baptize into Christ, added to Acts 2 says he adds us into the church. You become part of the body. God puts you there. And so everybody that's in the body is a part of the body, so everybody has a way and a place to serve. You matter, and you have a place to serve. Let that not be oh, bummer. Let that be a wow, cool kind of a thing. And so because that's true, we need you. We need all of us. What would it be like if everybody in the congregation, everybody in the Lord's church, here and everywhere else, were to fully engage in serving each other and people in the community that just have needs, just giving yourself away, giving your talents away, giving your life away, giving your heart away to people. It would be, I don't think you could describe the explosive impact of what God could do with that. We need you. It means even I can make an impact. Because guess what I am? I'm ordinary. There's not going to be lasers coming out of my eyes or flash or spectacular. I'm just me. And that's okay. That's good. Because Tabitha was just one lady in the congregation, but her impact was inordinately huge relative to her just being one lone individual. That's what God can do. And so it's not about position, it's not about title, so we don't have to worry about, well, I need to have a title, servant. Do you think, notice Tabitha didn't have a degree. As far as I could tell, she didn't have a PhD in servology. She wasn't a servologist. And say, well, let those folks there. She's just saying, if there's a need and I can do something, help. Sometimes all you can do is a phone call. It's a prayer, it's a hug. or the ministry of presence. Sometimes there are things, somebody is grieving, somebody is broken, somebody is devastated. And I can't fix it. None of us can we don't have magic wands. But can I be there? Can I just come and say, I'm so sorry? And then maybe there's not magic words that are going to make it all better. But sometimes the best thing we can do is to just be present. What skill does it take? What theological training does it take to do that? The heart belongs to Jesus. To care enough about each other to go. Sometimes I don't know how many visits I've made where inside I'm going, speaking at funerals, I've conducted funerals for people I have never even met. And, you want to feel inadequate, do that. Right? And what can you say? But you just try to be there for others. I think Tabitha was a Proverbs 31 woman. Read in Proverbs 31, if you would, the description of this remarkable kind of lady that's described there. This is just a one verse that says, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears the Lord shall be praised. Yeah, Tabitha is now praised. She should be. She's worthy of praise for what she did and gave. And you see the amazing Proverbs 31 lady. I'm married to a Proverbs 31 lady, and she constantly amazes me. And I'm like, wow, I wish I was more like that. And so here's what we get, just to wrap up. So since this all is true, let's do this. Let's give ourselves away in faithful service to others. It may not be, it's like, do it anyway. We're just going to have to, a lot of times, I know I can't, or I shouldn't, or I've got this, but that, and I know. Just go ahead and do it anyway. Give yourself away. And do it from the heart. By a heart that's transformed by the love and the light of Jesus, because the more Jesus permeates you and changes the way you think and the way you live, the more this will just be natural. And it won't be something I'm like, got to make myself do it for it. And so if we want to be more like Jesus, just let Jesus change us from the heart outward. Explore ways to use your specific talents and resources to bless the lives of others. The way you serve and the way you contribute will not be the same as the people behind you, in front of you, next to you. And that's fine. You find out how you can. Never let our ordinary status be used as an excuse to wait or stop. Don't let these excuses slow you down or stop you. There'll always be excuses. There'll always be reasons not to. We just do it anyway. And we need to seek, and let's do it for God's glory, not ours. Service that God seeks is service for His glory. And it's done out of gratitude for what He has done for us. It's a way to pay it back or to pay it forward for what God has done for me, how He has served and given His life and changed mine, and He's still making me, and He's still growing me, and He's still maturing me. And the way I can do it, go give it to somebody else. Go do something for somebody else as somebody God's did for me. So who are you today? I hope we can all say, as we serve, as we give, as we do, I am Tabitha. Let it be so. Any need to come and have needs that you need to present to church, or prayers or anything that you want, come and encourage you to do that. Make those known while together that we stand and sing.